Hey y'all, it's Shyah, and I wanted to talk a little bit about 2025 being a universal number 9 year. I guess first of all, happy 2025, happy Gregorian calendar new year. As the years switch, the numerology of the year switches also, and so as I was preparing myself for the new year and also just thinking about this journey home and welcome home and what I can offer myself and extend that to the collective, I felt really inspired to do this workbook called Riding the Winds of Change. I call it a workbook, but I feel like it's more so of an ancestral veneration guide. And an opportunity for those who are interested to take the journey of the soul and integrate shadow work, which from my experience, my lived experience, shadow work has been the thing to really propel me forward on my journey. So let me back up. So there's the universal energy of the number 9, right? Which is endings, which is rebirth. The number 9 in Yoruba is ruled by the Orisha Oya. So if you're familiar with Oya or not, that energy is the winds of change, right? Oya is the Orisha that is going to be the guardian of transformation, be the guardian of the cemetery, the places where birth and death and rebirth happens. And when Oya winds comes, it's best to surrender completely, or else it can become very destructive, which happens when we are resisting change. Ask me how I know. So last year at my birthday, I started a personal number 9 year, which I had prepared myself. I'm very much into numerology. I work with Babu Rouser, who's always keeping me up to date with what's going on with the numbers and how they relate to the things that are happening in my life. So I was well aware that, once I started my personal number 9 year, it would require a lot of surrendering. Of course, I didn't know how it would show up, but it showed up for me in some surprising ways, and in some ways that was predictable, some ways that maybe came to me in dreams. But I share this a little bit in the workbook, but some things that happened was I had the hurricane that passed through Atlanta caused water damage and roof damage to my house, which put me out of my house, but also to the point of being aligned with your destiny and the winds of change aligning you with your destiny. I had been getting the inclination that it was time for me to move from my home. I just wasn't ready to. So then the winds of change will come through and help to push you in the direction of your destiny. So that is pretty much the energy of the number 9. It is a transformative energy. It's the energy that births us, right? A full-term birth is 9 months. And that's what it takes for you to grow in utero. It's a very ancestral number. It is the number of the ancestors. And so as we moved into 2025, and I'm okay, this is also going to be a double 9 for me. I'm going to still be in my personal number 9 year, because the personal years really start at your birthday, at least through the philosophy that I've been taught. And then you have the universal energy of the number 9. I mean, the number 9, and it's not to be scary or anything, because I do believe we have so much support, but the number 9 is not an easy number, to contend with. It's death, it's birth, it's rebirth, it's transformation, which can be really heavy. And I just know collectively there's a lot going on. There's a lot changing. God forbid you watch the news, you see all the craziness. The number 9 is ruled by Mars, and Mars is a warrior planet. It's the planet of war. So you might find that people are hot this year and quick to anger and, making rash decisions running their car into, a mob of people. Fire, airplane crashes, all this stuff is associated with the number 9. It doesn't have to be gruesome, it doesn't have to be all bad, but it does require, I think, a level of spiritual awareness and a level of ancestral veneration to make it through a number 9 in the most productive way possible. And if nothing else, nurturing your nervous system, because the nervous system is also ruled by the number 9. And I just know from my personal experience in these past few months is that things that happen take such a toll on the nervous system. So it's important to build up your nervous system with somatic, and holistic healing, but then also have a spiritual practice that keeps you grounded, and then be clear on why you're here and the lessons that you're here to learn. For me, it assuages some of the madness and the craziness that's going on. So, yeah. So when I think about destiny alignment, there's 2 things that I automatically think about. The first is your north and south node in astrology. And the second is divination, particularly Ifa divination, and that's consultant, Orunmila. These lunar nodes really speak so precisely to your destiny, generally. And so it speaks to why you came, like the things that you really came here to accomplish. And your north node is always directly opposite your south node, and they always fall in sister signs. So for instance, if you have a Taurus north node, you're gonna have a Scorpio south node. And so, I feel like I'm probably gonna do another video, and maybe I'll do it with Sister Ash to really dive into like the nodes and explaining the nodes to people, especially if you're like not interested or don't know much about astrology. I think of all, I know we get, involved in our sun signs. Well, everyone pretty much knows their sun sign. And I think, the sun sign, moon sign, Venus, rising, all that is important. But I feel like the north node is so transformational to know that and to really work within your nodes. So your south node is pointing to what there is for you to let go, which is the shadow work. It's the thing that you came into being already knowing how to do innately. It's the thing that's going to help you to fulfill your destiny. But if you lean on it too much, it'll get in the way of the lessons that you're here to learn. So, yeah, it's really, really powerful. So I think that's one avenue to really, if someone's just like, I really want to lock into like why I came and like fulfilling my destiny in that way. And then the other way, which I do think is like a couple notches up as far as like the level of information and the individualness of the information, is the Ifa divination. Because in Ifa, it is said that Orunmila was there when we came from heaven to earth. And Orunmila knows exactly why we said we were coming to earth. Now, when we get to earth, we come to earth as babies and we forget, we go through the womb and touch the tree of forgetfulness. And we don't always remember why we said we're gonna come. Sometimes a life event will happen to, jolt us into remembrance. But most likely, you're born into a family and you kind of like get molded into what it is that your family is doing or society and things like that, which can sometimes take you away from your destiny. But like I said, life events, your soul is always trying to like guide you back to the path of why you said you would come. So if you haven't downloaded the guide yet, please do. I included a link for you. It's completely free. It is my gift to you. Once you open it up and dive in, you'll see like there's a nice little introduction to ground you in what it is that you will be embarking upon. There's the themes that are coming up in the year. There's space to write, even though it's digital. Like you can absolutely print it out, write in the margins, write on the pages, or it can accompany your journaling practice. So yeah, and then there's a piece on ancestral veneration where I'm encouraging you to name the names of those in your lineage that have passed on, your honorable ancestors that maybe you have met, maybe you have not met, but you heard about, and just get curious about their stories, your maternal lineage, your paternal lineage, and then like your communal ancestors as well. Because I know for me, these past few months and really so much of my life, there are also communal ancestors that, like, their work that they left behind really holds me. And that's the James Baldwins and the Toni Morrisons. Like, I've been leaning so heavily on Toni Morrison and her experiences and her writings remind me really and truly that I'm going to be just fine. So when I say communal ancestors, I mean those that, you know, maybe weren't or aren't, you know, in your lineage, but you know them from your community, or you know them from the larger community. So yeah, and then there's a beautiful ancestral prayer in there that you can incorporate. And if you don't have like an ancestral veneration practice, but you're interested, I think this could be a great place to start. I also think when it comes to ancestral veneration, there's this level of decolonization that has to happen, because spiritually, especially if you grew up in any type of religious background, you may have still like some guilt about honoring your ancestors. You may still have some guilt about like honoring your ancestors, but it's absolutely something that, you know, should be done. It's not anything that is demonic or bad, but I also understand, you know, backgrounds that we have, and so sometimes it is necessary to decolonize those beliefs to really get you into a place where you feel more comfortable in the practice. So I'll leave that there, but I think a good place to start with ancestral veneration is to simply name the names of your ancestors that have gone on and become curious about their stories, about what they accomplished in their lifetime, what they set out to accomplish in their lifetime, what they were interested in, how they died. All those things, you know, can give you valuable information about your own journey, you know, your own destiny, or like the gifts of your own lineage. So I think that's always a good, you know, safe place to start. And then the more you become comfortable within yourself and within your practice, there are ways to go deeper. There are ways to go deeper. I'll say that. In the workbook too, there's ways for a deeper dive. Like, you don't have to go through this year alone. In addition to, you know, whatever communities and resources you have, I also want to offer myself as a resource. And so definitely follow along on Substack, thisjourneyhome.substack.com. thisjourneyhome.substack.com. And I'm going to be doing some deeper dives into this information and other topics throughout the year. You can book a one-on-one session with me. I do quantum ancestral healing sessions. I do Reiki. And also if you just want to dive into this particular workbook and understanding more about your North Node and your destiny, I'm more than happy to do a one-on-one with you. You can purchase my book, The Lineage of Love, which is where I began to really tap into and share my experiences on this conversation of ancestral veneration, of healing from within, of shadow work. A lot of that is in the pages of The Lineage of Love, and it's available wherever books are sold. You can get it from my website, ShyahDickerson.com, or like I said, from any other outlet where books are sold. So yeah, those are the ways to find me. Again, happy 2025. I'm wishing you all the best, and may we ride these winds of change together. May we prosper. May we remain grounded. May we have peace and prosperity and joy in the midst of it all. I love you much.